FIFA and UEFA acted unlawfully in blocking the creation of the European Super League. That, the European Union's top court has today ruled. The court said both bodies were abusing their dominant position in the sport, but it added its ruling does not mean that a competition such as the Super League must necessarily be approved. The proposed league, involving 12 of Europe's biggest clubs, including 6 English teams, collapsed shortly after it was announced in April 2021, sparking widespread condemnation. I'm sure you will all remember those scenes of fans protesting on the streets outside their relevant clubs, totally against the idea of this European Super League, especially as at that time it appeared to be a closed shop and was only open to a small number of elite teams, Dino.
Yeah, well, we've got the best pyramid system in the world, always have, and it'll affect our league more than it will affect Spain, Germany, France. I don't think it's good news. As far as I know, Nat, isn't there a deal already in place?
Yes, indeed.
Are they going to have to break it?
So, yes, you're basically going back to a new charter that was put together by Premier League clubs. This was the owners' charter that was agreed in 2022, obviously coming off the back of what happened, I suppose, in part to the European Super League. And within that new charter, it states that clubs must not engage in the creation of new competition formats outside of the Premier League's rules, which I guess infers, and we're going to speak to our chief football correspondent Alex Crook in just a moment, but I guess that infers that if, for example, the 6 English teams that originally had signed up for the ESL wanted to pursue that going forward, they would obviously have to break those charter rules, which would mean possible sanctions, and it could mean an expulsion from any domestic. I mean, there's a number of things, and ultimately, the Premier League would have to convene a meeting where they would either have to allow those teams to leave and to join the ESL, I say leave, or to take part in the ESL, or certainly put a stop to it and say that's not happening. As things stand, that is what the charter suggests. Let's bring in Alex Crook then, who is across this for us. Alex, a fast-moving story then from when we spoke to you an hour or so ago, and we're now all speculating as to what will happen. Alex Crook, are you there?
He's not there.
He's frozen.
I think one of the biggest bugbears, there's no relegation in the league they were setting up. That was the first and the rich
suggestion.
Are getting richer.
You see, that's what it is. I mean, obviously, my club, Brentford, being in the Premier League and only a few seasons into the Premier League, we're never obviously going to be one of those teams considered for the ESL, and that's where it doesn't sit right for a team like mine, because as you just rightly said, it just feels as though this is a competition that's only going to help the rich and help them get richer. But Alex Crook is back with us. Alex, as I was saying, this is a fast-moving story now with this verdict. And now we're all talking about speculation and what happens next.
Yeah, good morning once again. We said this could be a seismic day for European football. Bigger than the Bosman ruling was how one newspaper in England covered this story this morning. And as you've already articulated, the decision hasn't gone the way of UEFA and FIFA, the European Court of Justice, ruling that those two bodies acted against competition laws by blocking the formation of the European Super League back in 2021. They went on to say there is no framework for FIFA and UEFA rules ensuring that they are transparent, objective, non-discriminatory and proportionate. Similarly, the rules giving FIFA and UEFA exclusive control over the commercial exploitation of the rights related to those competitions, as such as to restrict competition, given their importance for the media, consumers and TV viewers in the European Union. I've reached out to UEFA. They promised a response to this ruling within the hour. We'll bring it to you first here on talkSPORT. But A22 Sports, they're the PR company acting mainly on behalf of Barcelona and Real Madrid, who got this case to court in the first place. They have tweeted following the verdict. They say, we've won the right to compete. The UEFA monopoly is over. Football is free. Free in capital letters. Clubs are now free from the threat of sanction and free to determine their own futures. For fans, they go on to say, we propose free viewing of all Super League matches. For clubs, revenues and solidarity spending will be guaranteed. So clearly, they've been empowered by this decision. They feel the European Super League is very much alive and kicking. As you say, the big question now is which of those 6 Premier League clubs, if any, who were willing to join first time around back in 2021, have the appetite to get involved once again in a European Super League. You've mentioned it already, Natalie, but it's worth pointing out, under this new independent regulator, Premier League clubs are banned from joining rebel competitions. So if any of these clubs did want to join a European Super League, they would effectively have to leave the Premier League. Huge developments this morning.
Presumably that charter that we talked about in 2022, the owners' charter that was agreed, where we say that there was an agreement that clubs could not engage in a new competition outside of the Premier League rules, that obviously came down to the Premier League clubs themselves agreeing that. So if these 6 teams that were originally agreed to the ESL, they only have to ask for a meeting once again to try and change the rules. And I'm not saying that they obviously get backing from all the other teams involved, but they'll certainly push it if they want to.
Yeah, I guess the decision they have to weigh up, and Dino said it a couple of times this morning, ultimately it all comes down to money. Are the riches on offer in the European Super League greater than if they remain part of the Premier League? They've just signed that huge television deal for the next few years. That will have an impact as well. The impression I was getting going into this case this morning is that there isn't necessarily an appetite on behalf of those Premier League clubs to join the Super League. They may opt to sit back and watch at this stage, see if Barcelona and Real Madrid can get it off the ground, see how many other teams around Europe are keen to get involved. But I think what we have to stress is the whole reason the Super League was devised in the first place by those clubs, primarily in Spain and Italy as well, was because they were jealous of the Premier League clubs and the financial muscle that they had. So if I was in charge of a Manchester United or a Liverpool or a Chelsea, I might just be inclined to take that step back and think, actually, do you know what? We've already got the best league in the world. Do we really need to get involved in this?
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.